My name is Dr. Richard Hartley. I'm 68 years old, a retired marine biologist, and for the past 24 years I've been receiving monthly payments of £5,000 from an account I was told never to trace. The payments came with one condition. I keep my mouth shut about what we found at Loch Ness in August of 1987. I've kept that agreement. Cashed every check. Lived comfortably on money that was essentially hush money. And I told myself I was doing the right thing. That there were good reasons for the secrecy. That some truths are too dangerous to reveal. But the payment stopped 3 months ago. No explanation. No warning. Just silence. And last week I received a different kind of message. A phone call from a number I didn't recognize. A voice I'd never heard before. It said 4 words that changed everything. They know you're talking. I wasn't talking. Hadn't spoken to anyone about 1987. Hadn't even thought about breaking my silence. But someone believed I was. And that belief, that assumption, made me realize something important. If they think I'm talking, then I might as well actually talk. Tell the truth. Reveal what they paid me 24 years to hide. So here I am. Recording this testimony. Uploading it where it can't be deleted or suppressed. Making sure that if something happens to me, the truth survives. What we found at Loch Ness in 1987 wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a prehistoric survivor. It wasn't an unknown species. It was something far stranger. Something that explained not just the Loch Ness phenomenon, but dozens of similar phenomena around the world. And the people who funded our research, the people who saw our findings, they made a decision. They decided the world couldn't know. And they paid us to make sure it never would. I took their money. All of us did. And for 24 years, I kept the secret. But now the payments have stopped. Now they think I'm talking. And now I have nothing left to lose. Before I explain what we found, before I reveal the truth that's been hidden for nearly a quarter century, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video everywhere you can. Download it. Copy it. Spread it as far as possible. Because once this goes public, they'll try to suppress it. They'll try to discredit me. They'll try to make this disappear. Don't let them. This truth has been buried long enough. And someone needs to hear it before they silence me permanently. What we found at Loch Ness changes everything. And you deserve to know what your governments have been hiding from you. In the summer of 1987, I was 43 years old and working as a senior researcher at the Institute of Marine Biology in Edinburgh. I'd spent 20 years studying deepwater ecosystems, published dozens of papers, earned a solid reputation in my field. I was respected, successful, living a good life. Then I received a phone call that changed everything. The caller identified himself as Dr. James Morrison, representing a private research foundation I'd never heard of. The Caledonian Scientific Trust. He said they were funding a comprehensive survey of Loch Ness and wanted me to lead the biological assessment team. The pay was extraordinary. Triple my university salary for 3 months of work. All expenses covered. State-of-the-art equipment provided. I asked what they were really looking for. He paused, then said something I'll never forget. "We're not looking for a monster, Dr. Hartley. We're looking for an explanation. There's a difference." That intrigued me. Most Loch Ness expeditions were either serious scientific surveys that found nothing, or publicity stunts by people chasing legends. But this sounded different. Funded by serious money. Organized by serious people. And they wanted answers, not monsters. I accepted. And in early August 1987, I arrived at Loch Ness with a team of 12 researchers. Marine biologists, geologists, acoustic specialists, underwater photographers. We had equipment I'd only dreamed of using. Deep water submersibles, advanced sonar arrays, seismic sensors, underwater cameras that could function at any depth. The first week was routine. We mapped the loch bed, took sediment samples, catalogued fish populations. Standard survey work. But we were also looking for anomalies, unusual formations, unexplained readings, anything that might explain the decades of sightings and reports. We found plenty of interesting geology. The loch is deeper than most people realize. Over 700 feet in places. And the bed is riddled with fissures. Cracks in the rock that descend far below the loch itself. Some of them connected to underground water systems. Possibly even to the sea. But we found no evidence of large unknown animals. No bones. No environmental impact consistent with something massive living in the water. Nothing. We were about to conclude the expedition was a failure. Write up our findings. Recommend that future research focus on why people keep seeing things rather than what they're seeing. Standard debunking protocol. Then, on August 23rd, something happened. Something that made us realize we'd been looking for the wrong thing entirely. The seismic sensors detected unusual activity. Not on the surface. Not in the water column. Deep below the loch bed. In the fissures. Movement. Vibrations. Patterns that didn't match any geological activity we knew. We sent down a submersible to investigate. What it found in those deep fissures, what it recorded and brought back, that's what they paid us to hide. Because what's in Loch Ness isn't living in the water at all. The submersible descended into a fissure near Urquhart Bay. The crack was narrow, barely wide enough for the vehicle to pass through, but it went deep. Far deeper than the loch itself. The sensors showed it extending at least 200 meters below the loch bed, possibly more. At 150 meters below the bed, the fissure opened into a cavity. A chamber. We couldn't see how large it was on the sonar. The space was too big for our equipment to map completely. But we could see something else. Something that didn't belong in a submerged cave system. Structure. Not natural rock formations. Structure. Smooth surfaces. Right angles. Geometric patterns. The submersible moved closer. The cameras captured it all. And what we saw made no sense. The chamber walls weren't natural stone. They were constructed. Carved or formed or built by something. The surfaces were too regular. Too precise. Too deliberately shaped. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. The most disturbing part was the symbols. Carved into the walls. Hundreds of them. Covering every surface. They weren't any language I recognized. Weren't any alphabet or writing system in any human culture. But they were clearly intentional. Clearly communication of some kind. And they were old. Incredibly old. The geological team estimated the chamber had been sealed for at least 10,000 years. Possibly longer. Which meant whatever created these symbols, whatever built this structure, did it before recorded human civilization. We spent 3 days exploring the chamber with the submersible. Mapping it. Photographing every surface. Taking samples of the material. And the more we documented, the more impossible it became to deny what we'd found. Someone, or something, had built an underground structure beneath Loch Ness thousands of years ago. And based on the acoustic readings, based on the vibrations the seismic sensors were picking up, something was still active down there. Still functioning. Still operating in ways we couldn't understand. That's when Dr. Morrison appeared at our camp. He'd been receiving our reports remotely, watching our progress. But when we sent him the photographs of the chamber, of the symbols, he came immediately. Brought for other people with him. They weren't scientists. They wore expensive suits. Carried briefcases. And they had an authority about them that made it clear they were the real power behind this expedition. Morrison called a meeting. Told us we'd made a remarkable discovery. Said it had implications far beyond anything we'd anticipated. And then he explained what would happen next. We would complete our documentation. We would write detailed reports. We would hand over all data, all photographs, all samples. And then we would sign non-disclosure agreements backed by legal penalties so severe that violating them would destroy our lives and careers. In exchange, we would each receive monthly payments. Generous payments. For as long as we kept silent. For as long as we never spoke about what we'd found. One of the younger researchers objected. Said this was too important to hide. Said the world deserved to know. Morrison listened politely. Then asked a simple question. Do you understand what you've found? Do you understand what it means? The researcher said it meant there was an ancient civilization beneath Loch Ness. An unknown culture that predated human history. Morrison shook his head. No, he said. It means something far more troubling than that. He pulled out a folder. Opened it. Showed us photographs. Similar chambers. Similar symbols. Similar structures. Found in other locations around the world. Deep underwater sites. Subterranean caverns. All displaying the same geometric patterns. The same impossible architecture. The same ancient symbols. Loch Ness isn't unique, Morrison said. It's one of dozens. Maybe hundreds. And they're all connected. All part of something larger. Something we don't understand. Something that's been here far longer than we have. If you're still watching, if you're still listening, then you need to understand what I'm telling you. What we found wasn't a monster. It was evidence of something that challenges everything we think we know about history. About civilization. About who was here before us. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Make sure this gets seen. Because what comes next, what Morrison told us in that meeting, it explains why they've kept this secret for 24 years. And why they're willing to do anything to keep it hidden. The truth about Loch Ness isn't about creatures in the water. It's about what's beneath the water. And what that means for all of us. Morrison let us process what he'd shown us. The photographs of similar sites around the world. Evidence that Loch Ness was just one location in a global network of something ancient and unexplained. Then he started explaining what they knew. What they'd learned from studying these sites over the past 40 years. The first site was discovered in 1947. A cave system in Norway. Deep underwater. Divers exploring for the Norwegian government found a chamber with the same geometric patterns. The same symbols. They documented it. Reported it. And within days, the site was classified. Sealed. Made inaccessible to anyone without top-level clearance. Since then, they'd found 17 more sites. Each one similar. Each one showing evidence of the same builders. The same purpose. And each one still active in some way. still producing acoustic signals, still generating electromagnetic anomalies, still operating according to principles they couldn't understand. Morrison explained that there were two theories about what these sites represented. The first was that they were remnants of an ancient human civilization, far older than anything in the archaeological record. A sophisticated culture that built these structures for purposes we couldn't comprehend, then vanished, leaving only these underground chambers as evidence of their existence. The second theory was more disturbing: that the structures weren't human at all. That something else built them. Something that was here before humans. Something that might still be here, hidden in the deep places of the world. Morrison said they didn't know which theory was correct. Didn't have enough evidence to make a determination. But they knew that revealing the existence of these sites would cause massive disruption. Religious institutions would be challenged. Historical narratives would collapse. Governments would face questions they couldn't answer. And the public would demand access to sites that were potentially dangerous. So they made a decision. Keep it classified. Keep it secret. Continue researching quietly. And pay well anyone who discovered a new site to ensure their silence. We signed the agreements. All of us. Even the young researcher who'd objected initially. The money was too good. The threats were too serious. And honestly, part of me believed Morrison was right. That some truths are too destabilizing to reveal. But there was something Morrison didn't tell us in that meeting. Something I only learned years later. Something that makes the secrecy even more troubling. The sites aren't dormant. They're not just ancient ruins sitting inactive beneath the ground. They're still functioning. Still sending signals. Still connected to each other in some kind of network that spans the entire planet. And every year, the signals get stronger. The activity increases. Whatever these structures are, whatever purpose they serve, they're building toward something. Preparing for something. And the people who've been studying them for 40 years, the people who paid us to keep silent, they don't know what that something is. They're terrified. That's the real secret. That's what they're really hiding. Not just evidence of ancient builders, but evidence that those builders might be coming back. Or that what they built might be activating. And we have no idea what will happen when it does. After we signed the agreement and left Loch Ness, I spent years thinking about what we'd found. About the chamber beneath the loch. About the symbols on the walls. About Morrison's photographs of similar sites around the world. And slowly, I started connecting dots that I'd been trained not to connect. The Loch Ness Monster sightings. Dozens of them over the decades. People reporting something large moving through the water. Something that surfaces briefly and then disappears. I'd always assumed they were misidentifications. Logs. Waves. Boats. The usual explanations. But what if they weren't? What if people were actually seeing something? Not a creature living in the water, but something else. Something connected to the chamber beneath the loch. I started researching other locations. Places where similar sightings had been reported. Lake Champlain. Lake Twanchi. Okanagan Lake. Dozens of deep freshwater lakes around the world, all with their own monster legends. All with decades of unexplained sightings. And I found something interesting. Many of these lakes, when surveyed, showed the same geological features as Loch Ness. Deep fissures in the bed. Underground cavities. Unusual acoustic properties. I couldn't prove it, but I suspected that beneath many of these lakes, there were chambers. More of the ancient structures. More of the network. The sightings weren't of creatures. They were a phenomena. Effects generated by whatever was happening in those underground chambers. Disturbances in the water. Energy releases. Projections of some kind. People were seeing something real, but they were interpreting it through the lens of what they expected to see. Monsters. Creatures. Animals. The truth was stranger. The truth was that these sites were producing observable effects. And those effects were becoming more frequent, more intense, more difficult to dismiss as natural phenomena. I started keeping a log, collecting reports from Loch Ness and other similar locations, tracking the frequency of sightings over time. And I found a pattern. The sightings were increasing. Not slowly. Dramatically. In the 1960s, there were maybe a dozen reported sightings per year at Loch Ness. By the 1980s, it was closer to 40. By the 2000s, over 100. Something was changing. The chambers were becoming more active. And the effects were becoming more visible. More undeniable. I tried to contact Morrison. Wanted to share my findings. Ask if they'd noticed the same patterns. But the contact information I'd been given was no longer valid. The Caledonian Scientific Trust didn't seem to exist anymore. Or at least, it had gone deeper underground than I could access. The monthly payments kept coming. £5,000. Every month. Like clockwork. For 24 years. I deposited them. Lived on them, and tried not to think too hard about what I was being paid to ignore. But 3 months ago, the payment stopped. And that's when I knew something had changed. Either they decided I was no longer a risk, or they decided I was no longer worth protecting. Either way, the agreement was effectively over. And last week, that phone call. They know you're talking. Which meant someone, somewhere, believed I was about to break my silence. And they wanted me to know they were watching. Listening. Ready to act. But here's what they don't understand. I'm 68 years old. I have no family. No one depending on me. And I've spent 24 years living with the knowledge of what's beneath Loch Ness. What's beneath dozens of other locations around the world. What's been hidden from humanity for decades. And I'm tired of keeping the secret. Tired of taking their money. Tired of knowing that something is building toward an event we don't understand, and no one is being warned. No one is being prepared. So I'm breaking the agreement. Revealing the truth. And whatever happens to me as a result, at least someone will know. At least the information will be out there. Beyond their ability to suppress it completely. What's beneath Loch Ness isn't a monster. It's a structure. Built by something ancient. Connected to a global network of similar structures. And all of them are active. All of them are building toward something. You deserve to know that. And you deserve to decide for yourself what it means. I haven't told you everything yet. About what we found in that chamber beneath Loch Ness. About what the symbols meant. About what we discovered when we tried to translate them. After we documented the chamber, after we'd photographed every surface and catalogued every symbol, Morrison's team took all our data. They had linguists. Cryptographers. Pattern recognition specialists. People who'd spent years studying the symbols from the other 17 sites. And they'd made progress. Not complete translations. The symbols weren't a language in any conventional sense. But they were communication. Information encoded in geometric patterns. Mathematical relationships. Concepts expressed through shape and position rather than phonetics. Before we left Loch Ness, one of Morrison's specialists pulled me aside, showed me something they deciphered from the symbols in the Norwegian site. The first one discovered back in 1947. He said it took them 30 years to understand even this much. And what they learned terrified them. The symbols describe a cycle. That's the best word he could use. A cycle. Something that happens repeatedly. Something that's happened before. Something that will happen again. The structures, all of them, they're markers. Or maybe warnings. The specialist wasn't sure which. But they all contain the same information. Dates. Not in any calendar system we use, but relative to astronomical events. Solar cycles. Planetary alignments. Things that happen on scales of thousands of years. And according to the symbols, according to the patterns they deciphered, we're approaching the next occurrence of this cycle. Soon. Within our lifetimes. I asked what happens during the cycle. What the symbols were warning about or marking. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said something I've never forgotten. They didn't show us. They showed whoever comes after us. Whoever survives it. That's when I understood why Morrison was so insistent on secrecy. Why they were paying us to stay silent. They weren't just hiding evidence of ancient builders. They were hiding evidence of a cyclical event. Something that's happened before. Something that destroyed or displaced whoever built these chambers. And something that's about to happen again. But here's what makes it worse. The symbols at Loch Ness were different from the other sites. More detailed. More specific. And when I pressed the specialist, when I asked what made Loch Ness unique, he said something that's haunted me for 24 years. Loch Ness is a primary site. The others are secondary. Receivers or relays or something like that. But Loch Ness is where it starts. Whatever this cycle is, whatever this event is, it begins here. That's what they paid me to hide. Not just ancient structures. Not just unexplained phenomena. But the knowledge that something is coming. Something that's written in symbols 10,000 years old. Something that begins at Loch Ness. And something that's almost here. The increased sightings? The growing activity in the chamber? That's not random. That's preparation. The structures are activating. The network is powering up. And whatever they were built to do, whatever purpose they serve in this cycle, it's about to happen. And nobody knows. Nobody's been warned. Because the people who discovered this, the people who've studied it for decades, they decided the panic would be worse than the event itself. They decided ignorance was safer than truth. I don't agree. I never did. And now that they've stopped paying me, now that they've made it clear I'm expendable, I'm breaking the silence. I'm telling you what the symbols say. What the cycle means. What's coming. You need to know. You need to prepare. And you need to understand that Loch Ness isn't just a lake with monster stories. It's ground zero for something humanity hasn't experienced in 10,000 years. I wasn't the only one paid to stay silent. There were 12 of us on that expedition in 1987. 12 scientists who saw the chamber. Who documented the symbols. Who signed the agreements. For 24 years, we've all kept quiet. Taken the money. Lived our separate lives. But 3 months ago, when my payment stopped, I started wondering. Had theirs stopped too? Were we all being cut loose? Or was I the only one they decided to abandon? I tracked down 3 of them. It wasn't easy. We'd been explicitly told not to contact each other. Not to discuss what we'd found. not to acknowledge the connection we shared. But I had to know if I was alone in this. The first was Dr. Sarah Chen. She'd been our acoustic specialist. Brilliant woman. Expert in underwater sound propagation. I found her in Manchester. She'd left research entirely. Was teaching high school physics. Living quietly. When I called her, mentioned Loch Ness, she hung up immediately. I tried again. Left a message saying my payments had stopped. That I needed to know if hers had too. She called back an hour later. Her voice was shaking. Yes, she said. 3 months ago. The same as yours. And then she said something that made my blood run cold. 2 of us are already dead. Dr. Marcus Webb, our lead geologist, died in a car accident 6 weeks ago. Single vehicle collision. No other cars involved. No witnesses. Just Webb driving off a cliff on a clear day with good visibility. Dr. Patricia Moss, our underwater photographer, found dead in her flat 4 weeks ago. Natural causes, the coroner said. Heart attack. She was 52 years old. No history of heart problems. Sarah said she'd been monitoring the others as best she could. Keeping track through professional networks. Social media. Mutual acquaintances. And she'd noticed a pattern. The ones who'd been most vocal during the expedition, the ones who'd questioned the secrecy most strongly, they were dying. Accidents. Natural causes. Nothing provably suspicious. But too many. Too quickly. I asked if she thought Morrison's people were responsible. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said it didn't matter whether they were directly responsible or just allowing things to happen. The result was the same. We were being eliminated. The agreement wasn't just about silence during our lifetimes. It was about ensuring we never spoke at all. Before I go any further, before I tell you what else Sarah revealed, I need you to understand the risk I'm taking. If you're watching this, I might already be dead. They might have found me. Silence me. But this recording will survive. This truth will persist. Subscribe to this channel. Share this everywhere. Download it. Mirror it. Make sure it can't be erased. Because what I'm about to reveal, what Sarah told me about the other sites, it explains everything. The symbols. The cycle. Why they're so desperate to keep this hidden. And why I'm willing to risk everything to tell you the truth. Sarah had continued researching after we left Loch Ness. Not officially. Not in any way that would violate the agreement. But quietly. Privately. Monitoring scientific journals. Tracking geological surveys. Watching for any indication that the other sites were becoming more active. And they were. All of them. The increase wasn't consistent. Some sites showed more activity than others. But the trend was undeniable. Seismic readings were increasing. Electromagnetic anomalies were becoming more frequent. Acoustic signals were growing stronger. The network was waking up. Sarah had created a map. Plotted all 18 known sites. Tracked their activity levels over time. And she'd found something Morrison's team either hadn't discovered or had chosen not to share with us. The sites formed a pattern. Not random locations. A geometric arrangement. Specific distances and angles. Like points on a grid covering the entire planet. And Loch Ness was at a node. A junction point. Connected to 6 other sites through straight-line relationships that couldn't be coincidental. Norway. Iceland. Canada. Siberia, Japan, New Zealand. All of them linked to Loch Ness. All of them showing increased activity in sync with each other. But there was more. Sarah had hacked into systems she shouldn't have accessed. University databases, government geological surveys, even some classified military records. She'd found evidence of sites Morrison hadn't told us about. 37 additional locations, all showing the same architectural patterns, all part of the same network, all becoming active. 55 sites, not 18. 55. Covering every continent, every ocean. A planetary network built thousands of years ago by something or someone with a purpose we still didn't understand. And they were all synchronizing. The acoustic signals, the electromagnetic pulses, the seismic vibrations. They were aligning, matching frequencies, creating resonances that spanned the globe. Like instruments in an orchestra tuning before a performance. Sarah said she'd tried to calculate when full synchronization would occur. When all 55 sites would be operating at peak activity, perfectly aligned with each other. She ran the numbers based on the rate of increase, the pattern of acceleration. Full synchronization would occur in 2025. That's when I understood why my payments had stopped. Why the other researchers were dying. Why Morrison's people were eliminating anyone who knew the truth. Because we were approaching the event. The cycle the symbols described. And they didn't want anyone who could explain what was happening to be alive when it occurred. They wanted ignorance. Wanted confusion. Wanted panic without understanding. Because understanding would lead to questions. To demands for answers. To pressure on governments to explain why they'd hidden this for decades. Better to let the event happen without context. Without preparation. Without anyone who could say we knew this was coming and we chose to hide it from you. I asked Sarah what she thought would happen when the sites fully synchronized. What the cycle meant. What was supposed to occur in 2025. She said she didn't know. But she'd found something in the symbols. Something that gave her nightmares. The word reset appeared multiple times in the patterns. Or at least, the concept that linguists had translated as reset. A return to initial conditions. A clearing of something. A preparation for something new. She thought it meant extinction. That the cycle was designed to eliminate whatever was currently dominant on the planet. Make room for something else. Or someone else. And that humanity was simply the latest iteration. The latest species to occupy the planet between resets. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. That she was catastrophizing. That the symbols couldn't possibly mean something so apocalyptic. But I couldn't. Because deep down, I believed she was right. The symbols were warnings. But not warnings to survive. Warnings to whoever came next. Evidence that we'd been here. Proof that we'd existed before the reset. That's what the chambers contained. Not monster lairs. Not ancient ruins. But time capsules. Messages to the future. Proof that someone had been here before. And evidence that someone would be here after. 2 days after I spoke with Sarah, she disappeared. Her apartment was empty. Her car was gone. Her phone was disconnected. No one at her school knew where she'd gone. She'd simply vanished. I don't know if Morrison's people took her or if she went into hiding voluntarily. Either way, I lost my only connection to someone who understood what we were facing. Someone who'd done the research. Someone who knew the truth. I'm alone now. The last of the 12 researchers still free and willing to speak. And I know they're coming for me. The phone call last week wasn't a warning. It was a notification. A courtesy before they acted. They know you're talking. Translation: we're watching you. We know what you're planning. And we're going to stop you. But here's what they don't understand. I'm not planning to talk to journalists or government officials or anyone they can pressure or threaten. I'm talking to you. Directly. Through platforms they can't fully control. In ways they can't completely suppress. And I'm releasing everything. All my documentation from 1987. All the evidence I've gathered since. Everything Sarah shared with me before she disappeared. You need this information. You need to know what's beneath Loch Ness and 54 other locations around the world. You need to understand that 2025 is significant. That something is coming. That the structures are preparing for an event humanity hasn't experienced in recorded history. I don't know if we can stop it. I don't know if the reset can be prevented or if it's inevitable. But I know that going into it ignorant, unprepared, with no understanding of what's happening, that's worse than facing it with knowledge. So here's what I'm giving you. First, the coordinates of every site Sarah identified. All 55 locations. Most are underwater or underground. Difficult to access. But they're there. And they're real. And if you have the resources, if you have the equipment, you can verify what I'm telling you. Second, the symbols. Photographs of every surface in the Loch Ness chamber. Thousands of images. The most complete documentation of the pattern language ever compiled. The linguists and cryptographers among you, you can study them. Try to translate them. See if you can find information Morrison's team missed. Third, Sarah's research. Her maps. Her calculations. Her evidence of synchronization. All the data she gathered over 24 years of quiet investigation. It's incomplete. It's speculative in places. But it's more than anyone else has made public. And fourth, my testimony. Everything I know. Everything I experienced. Everything they paid me £1,440,000 over 24 years to keep secret. This is it. This is the truth about Loch Ness. Not monsters. Not legends. But evidence of something far older and far more significant than cryptozoology. Evidence that we're not the first. That we might not be the last. And that something built into the very structure of this planet is about to activate. Share this video. Download everything I'm releasing. Spread it as far as you can. Because they're coming for me. And once I'm gone, this might be the only evidence that survives. The sightings at Loch Ness will continue. The phenomena will intensify. And in 2025, when the network fully synchronizes, something will happen. Something the builders designed these structures to facilitate. Something that's happened before and will happen again. You deserve to know. You deserve to prepare. And you deserve the truth that's been hidden from you for decades. Whatever happens to me, whatever they do to silence me, at least I'll know I tried. At least I'll know I broke the agreement. Revealed the secret. Gave humanity a chance to face what's coming with open eyes instead of blind panic. The cycle is approaching. The reset is near. And Loch Ness is where it begins. I'm recording this final chapter from a location I won't disclose. I've left my home. Destroyed my phone. Severed all connections. Because if people knew, if humanity understood that our extinction was planned, programmed into structures we can't destroy or disable, the panic would be immediate and total. Better to hide it. Better to let it happen without warning. Better to preserve some illusion of control until the very end. But I refuse to accept that. I refuse to go quietly into whatever catastrophe these structures will cause. If we're facing extinction, if the reset is inevitable, then humanity deserves to know. Deserves to try to prevent it. Deserves to fight for survival with full knowledge of what we're fighting against. So here's everything. The coordinates. The symbols. The research. The evidence. The truth about Loch Ness and the global network of structures preparing to end our world. Download it. Study it. Share it. And if you have the resources, if you have the capability, try to find a way to stop it. Because 2025 is coming. The synchronization is approaching. And when it completes, when all 55 sites operate at full power in perfect alignment, something will happen. Something designed to reset this planet. Something that's eliminated civilizations before. Something that's about to eliminate us. Unless we find a way to break the cycle. To disable the network. To prevent what's been planned for us. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if we can fight against something built by beings or civilizations far more advanced than we are. But I know we have to try. Because the alternative is accepting extinction. Accepting that we're just another temporary species. Another phase between resets. I won't accept that. And I hope you won't either. The truth is out there now. The evidence is public. What you do with it, how you respond, that's up to you. My part is done. I've broken the agreement. Revealed the secret. Given humanity a chance. Whether we take that chance, whether we survive what's coming, that's no longer in my hands. They paid me to hide it. For 24 years, I took their money and kept silent. But now the silence is broken. The truth is revealed. And whatever consequences come, whatever fate awaits me, I'll face it knowing I tried to save us. The Loch Ness Monster isn't a creature. It's a structure. One node in a planetary system designed to destroy us. And that system is activating. Now. In our lifetime. Whether we're ready or not. You know the truth now. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. This is Dr. Richard Hartley, signing off. Whatever happens next, remember this, they knew. They hid it. And they let us walk blind into catastrophe because they were afraid of panic. Don't panic. Prepare. Investigate. Fight. Because 2025 is coming. And with it, the reset they've been hiding. Good luck. To all of us. This epilogue is being added to Dr. Richard Hartley's testimony in 2014. Dr. Hartley disappeared 2 days after uploading his final video. His body has never been found. The authorities classified him as a missing person, though no active investigation continues. His testimony went viral immediately. Downloaded millions of times. Translated into dozens of languages. Analyzed by researchers, conspiracy theorists, and scientists around the world. The coordinates he provided have been verified. Several of the sites have been explored by independent teams. The structures exist. The symbols are real. Governments have denied all knowledge. The Caledonian Scientific Trust, when investigated, appeared to be a shell company with no traceable leadership. Dr. Morrison has never been identified or located. But the phenomena continue. Loch Ness reports more sightings every year. The other sites show increasing activity. Seismic readings. Electromagnetic anomalies. Acoustic signals. Everything Dr. Hartley described is occurring exactly as he predicted. And 2025 approaches. The year Sarah Chen calculated for full synchronization. The year the reset is supposed to occur. We don't know if Dr. Hartley was right. We don't know if the structures will trigger a catastrophic event. We don't know if humanity faces extinction. But we do know this: something is activating. Something ancient is waking. And whether it's natural or designed, whether it's coincidence or conspiracy, we're approaching a threshold. Dr. Hartley gave us warning, gave us knowledge, gave us time to prepare. What we do with that time will determine whether his sacrifice meant anything. The truth about Loch Ness is no longer hidden. It's out there. In the depths. In the symbols. In the structures beneath 55 locations around the world. And it's coming. Whether we're ready or not.